العوافي يا جماعة، وأهلا وسهلا فيكم حلقة جديدة من تعت مشى مع إبراهيم. هلأ لازم نكون داعسين in our fourth episode or fourth walk or fourth whatever this is. But yeah, it's a fun experience, and I thought I would utilize today's episode as to kind of give you an introduction or a proper introduction about myself, and maybe talk a little bit about the life of an expat or the life of a Lebanese expat. And that way, I guess a lot of you or some of you might relate to this, some might not, but it's always nice to hear the other side of the story or to listen to another experience. So مثل ما قلت لكم الاسم الكامل هو إبراهيم براين رياض الشامي. خلقان بسيدني استراليا. رجعت على لبنان لما كان عمري 5 سنين. ضيعتي بلبنان هي ضيعة صغيرة اسمها مركبتها يلي هي بالمنية، وللي عم بيسأل أو عم بيفكر فيها لا بعد مركبتها. صرت عم جرب بس أقول اسم الضيعة دغري اسمعهم عن نكتي قبل ما هن يقولوا لي إياها. if it's going through your head لقطة. بس قضيت almost 16, 17 years of my life قاعد بمنطقة اسمها أو ضيعة اسمها فيع بالكورة حد جامعة البلمند. عملت مدرستي وجامعتي بلبنان. I studied architecture, graduated, worked for a couple of years, less, maybe a year and a half between Lebanon and Cyprus. And then صار الانفجار والأزمة الاقتصادية والكورونا يعني عن جد إذا بدي أقعد هلأ عد الأشياء يلي صاروا ما بنخلص. a lot of you guys already know what situation and what series of events I'm talking about. So that's when I decided to come back here. So since I was born here, it was always an easy option to come to Australia. I've been here for 5 years now, and life in Australia it's simple. Let's start with that. The simplicity of life in Australia is the fact that it's void of all situations that we're used to بلبنان. يعني في مرة a friend of mine who's also Lebanese was explaining to me that a lot of people when they move abroad or they migrate and become expats, the hardest thing for them to deal with is the fact that they don't need to be in survival mode 24/7, which is the case بلبنان. يعني لبنان بدك تضلك واقف على رجليك، بدك تضلك عم تركض، بدك تضلك عم تعمل هيك، بدك تضلك تعمل هيك، بدك تعمل هيك. Which is the opposite of here, where most of the services that you need are provided for directly, which is kind of the plus of, or the biggest advantage of Australia. Now, I won't speak on behalf of all other countries. I'll just speak on behalf of Australia. And I'd say that the biggest advantage to Australia is that it provides the one thing that Lebanon can't, which is stability. Or couldn't. I don't want to say can't, because maybe at some point Lebanon would be able to provide stability for us. So stability is number one here in Australia. It's you've got a stable job, you've got stable services, your healthcare is taken care of, although it's a long process, but still. Medication, care for the old. Even there's payments for unemployment. So if you're unemployed, you're sitting at home, you can't find a job for some reason, the government is willing to provide money. So all of these services are underappreciated because A, as Lebanese, we've never witnessed them before. but also because we never thought of how much we need them. So, and what's nice about living here now, Australia is a big continent. There's Melbourne, there's Perth, there's Adelaide, there's like, I'm talking about just one small part of Australia. And I know that a lot of people express that Melbourne's life is different to Sydney, and I agree with that because I've seen it. They have a more vibrant social life. Sydney's social life, and a lot of people might not agree with me on this, but I feel is near non-existent in terms of like our understanding of nightlife and social life in Lebanon. So here, majority of the bars and restaurants close at 11. And I think one of the things that I've noticed here in Australia is that there is a big emphasis and a big role that plays in your life for your job. And it almost, in this situation here in Sydney, or the way I feel it, it almost overcomes anything else and slowly but surely creeps up and turns into your number one priority, which is not the way we're used to living in Lebanon. We understand what the meaning of life is, or like kind of what's the important thing in life, like spending time with your loved ones, with your family, socializing, getting out, letting loose, blah, 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 so many things. But like I said, Lebanon's kind of a exceptional situation on this. But per regular standards, yeah, Australia still, again, this is just me. I feel like in terms of that social aspect, it might be a bit lacking. Now, it might not be that. It might be that it does have a vibrant social life, but access to that vibrant social life is not as easy as it is in Lebanon. Like you can go anywhere in Lebanon to just have a drink, and all of a sudden you've made amazing friends and you're having the wonderful night. Meanwhile, here, that's not always the case. People aren't as friendly. But also, I think one of the biggest things, or for me at least, is that I think Australia is a beautiful country. It's got amazing wildlife and amazing nature and great people. But I think one of the things is that they have a lack of compassion, a lack of showing love to your fellow human. And I don't mean showing love to your fellow human as like going up to someone and saying, I love you. No, 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 no. I mean societal love. I mean يعني حب اجتماعي أو حب بالمجتمع يلي هو it can be represented in the most simple things. You see a pregnant lady, or sorry, a lady with a baby stroller, and there's a couple of steps that she needs to get over. You automatically, for me, in my head, I'm not even thinking, I'm gonna go help that lady carry that stroller up the stairs. That is a no response thought in my head. Meanwhile, here, it's not. An old man gets on the subway or gets on the train. If you're sitting, or if I'm sitting, I'm not even thinking about it. I'm standing up and giving that old man my seat. Meanwhile, here I've seen so many situations where both of these incidents have happened, and no action, no societal love, no I appreciate you or I acknowledge your age and the fact that you've walked this earth far longer than I have, and I'm giving you my seat today. And I think that's very important because it nurtures the environment and in turn that environment nurtures the future generation. So I've seen recently, like I've got an 11-month-year-old. يعني انا راسي مش انه مش عم بيركب ولا نتفه. So I have an 11-month-old, there we go, niece. Her name is Inanna. She's the cutest thing on the planet. And having been witness to a lot of time with her in the last 11 months, I see how she's developing, how she's learning to do what we do by watching us do it. So now recently she's learned how to shake her hand, like waving goodbye and hello. And the only way she knew how to do that is because she saw me, her mom, her grandma, everyone doing it. And she started learning to do that. And so if you apply that same principle of, I don't want to make it seem like it's as derogatory as this, but monkey see, monkey do. So in that scenario, the best way for me to ensure that my kid turns into a active social being in their society and in their environment is by showing them how to act and by providing them the means to understand what they need to do. And I think that's one of the things that also lacks here in Sydney, where it's more of an individualistic city, individualistic life. People like to spend time alone. They like to be independent. And there's nothing wrong with independence. Independence is something that's great, and everyone should achieve that at some point. But independence is not meant to be independence from your family. Independence is not meant to be independence from your loved ones. Those are the people that are going to help you become independent, because they're going to teach you, they're going to show you, they're going to help you understand. And if you don't have that, then it's, unfortunately, it's a very cold life. It's a very hard life. I don't know what I would do without my family. Like, they're the backbone. They're my backbone. And I think that's when I tell a lot of people that over the past 5 years that I've spent here in Sydney, I've grown. My sense of empathy towards Australians has grown more, because although they have the fancy buildings, the modern tech, the newest science, whatever it is, they lack in those genuine, true things that we take for granted in our lives, like family, like care, like love, like giving, like sharing. Like the simplest thing is that I think a lot of people, or whoever's listening to this who lives in Sydney as well, or lives anywhere in Australia, has been in that situation where, let's say you go to a pub with a couple of friends and you grab a beer and you're like, forget about it, bro. Like, I got this. And the way they look at you is like, you're crazy. Like, why the fuck would you do that? Why are you buying me a beer? There's no intent behind it, bro. It's just it's an act of kindness. It's a olive branch, so that we can share time together. But the way they see it is like, oh shit, now I owe this guy $7.50, and the next day you're sitting in the office and they come with like a can of Coke and a bar of chocolate and say those together are $7.50. Now we're even. And you feel like the whole point of what you did, or that gesture that you did, is elusive to them. They ما فهموا انت شو عملت. ما يعني المبادرة اللي انت كنت عم تجرب تعملها معهم لهول العالم ما بينت لانه هن ما فهموها للمبادرة. بقى هو اشياء انا بالنسبة لإلي وبالعيشة هون باستراليا هو اشياء مهمين. وهو اشياء بيعملونا انسانية. They make us more humane because they're not directed at the self. They're directed at the society. They're directed at the people around us. So I think that's also kind of one of the big things here in Australia that I find that is different to Lebanon. Now, I'm not saying a lot of, actually, to rephrase that, every time I go to Lebanon, and I've been to Lebanon twice since I've been here, every time people always say, they always ask me the same question. أي أحلى أستراليا ولا لبنان؟ يا خيي يعني لحتى اقعد جرب افسر له انه it's not that simple صرت حسها tedious انه كل مرة بدي افسر نفس الشيء. So I found kind of a sentence which I like to use often with someone that asks me this question. بقول لهم ليك حبيبي، لبنان خرا واستراليا خرا، وانت عليك تنقي اي نوع خرا بدك تاكل لانه كيف ما كان اكل خرا بطريقة. يعني ان كنت بلبنان اكل خرا لانه ما بتعرف كيف بدك تعيش لعبكره، ما بتعرف كيف بدك تطلع مصريات عبكره، ما بتعرف اي متى بدهم يضربوا هيك، اي متى بده يصير هيك، وغير الفساد يلي عارم والدوائر الرسميه والمستشفيات وشو الواحد بده يحكي عن لبنان ليحكي. او فيك تجي هون كله موجود بس يا خيي العالم ما بتشوف بعضها. مش انه العالم ما بتشوف بعضها، العالم مبنيه تشوف بعضها حتى. unless كانوا مثلك، unless كانوا لبنانيين واجوا directly. Actually, to be honest with you, out of in the last 5 years, the friends that I've made here in Australia, like genuine friends, are people that moved from Lebanon over to here almost at the same time that I did, or maybe before or after. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, oh, that's only because you've decided like خلاص أنا هول العالم اللي بدي إياهم. بس لا. I for anyone who knows me or has listened to this or is listening while listening to this, whoever knows me genuinely knows that I offer an olive branch to whoever it is. And I always want to meet new people and be friends with people. And I've done that. But the reciprocation and the shared kind of intent and feel I've only received from said people who are people that have recently moved here. And maybe that's because of a shared experience or shared trauma or whatever the fuck it is. But again, I only state this as my opinion or what I see. Again, I could be wrong. I always acknowledge the fact that I'm basing 30 years in Lebanon, or sorry, let's say 18, 19 years in Lebanon over 5 years here in Australia. So it's not an even balance yet. I can't go and objectively say this one or that, or this one's got this one's got that. Maybe if I give it more time here in Australia, I'll get to meet more people and then start actually figuring out a way to make this society work or find a pocket of people that would be able to provide that kind of societal aspect that you get from Lebanon. بس بالمقابل انا بس يعني اخر مشوار نزلت على لبنان بقول لهم للعالم انه شي غطت الطياره بس نزلت على الرنواي حسيت مثل كانه شقفه من روحي رجعت, as if there's a piece of me that has been missing all this time that I was here, and then as soon as I landed it was like whew, it feels good to be in Beirut. So this is kind of my experience, or this is based off of my experience here in Australia as an expat. And again, I could be wrong. I could be fast to judge, and I could totally flip the script in the next 2 or 3 years because all of a sudden I found a group of people, or I found that thing that I thought that I couldn't find here, which is that society coming together and having مجتمع يعني هون ما عندك ضيعة، ما عندك عندك انه مثلا municipalities و councils وهيك sure، بس ما عندك ضيعة، ما عندك عالم بتزور بعضها، ما عندك جيران بتسأل عن بعضها. يعني انا الجيران اللي عنا بلبنان هن عائلة، ما بعتبرهم جيران انا. بس بالمقابل الجيران اللي عندي هون، and even though we've known them for a long period, we've known them before we went to Lebanon, but still. So you feel like that's kind of the biggest difference. So from Lebanon's side, it lacks the stability that Australia has. But from Australia's side, it lacks the society, the societal growth, the belonging, the humanity. It's just so many things which stand on Lebanon's side against Australia or against Sydney. And like I said, انه هي القصة ما فيها انه بدك تنقي اي خرا بدك تاكل منه، او في حالات مثل هيدي الحالة اللي نحن فيها هلا مجبور تاكل هي الخرا. again sorry على الالفاظ وصاري على الحكي، بس انه still يعني نحن انا مش قصة هلا قدامي الخيار انه روح على لبنان او دل هون، الخيار هلا هون، لانه لبنان السالة هلا على حالته. And that's the point, the lack of stability. That's shown right there. So we try to make do. I try to visit Lebanon as much as I can. I still work and live with the goal to move back at some point. And I might get to a point where even if I don't achieve what I want to achieve here before moving, I'm just gonna say fuck it and go back, because my last trip to Lebanon, I had 2 weeks. 3 of those, I actually, and it turned to 3 because there was some tension in the area, so they closed the airports, and I was forced, luckily and gladly, I did it with a smile, gladly got to spend 1 extra week in Lebanon. And you know what I spent the majority of my time in Lebanon doing? I went down to Beirut maybe once, to the beach a couple of times, Batroun مرة واحدة. But the majority of my time I spent just driving on roads that I used to drive on. Going to see people that I haven't seen in so long. And I bumped into people that I hadn't seen since school. And it was amazing, it was beautiful. And it really made me think, like, why do I want to go back? Or why do I consider that this has that and like Lebanon has this and Sydney doesn't? Is it because that I genuinely just really want to go back, and so I'm so hard up on going back that I consider that everything that Sydney has to offer is shit? But it's not the case, because I appreciate Sydney. I love Sydney. I love living here. The family I've got here. The Sydney city is beautiful. The harbor is amazing. And like I said, It's got nature that's breathtaking, beaches that are beautiful, like in a dream. And yet I still yearn to go back. I'd like anyone who's listening to this and who is also a Lebanese expat to let me know, maybe just a comment or whatever it is. Do you share this feeling? Or is it just me that stands out? Do you share the feeling of there's no place like home? Or is it more like, Brian, get over yourself? It's not that big. And you love where you are, be it Sydney, be it America, be it Canada, be it اللبنانية وين ما كان برو انه يعني اذا بعد كل البلاد يلي بالعالم I'm pretty sure في لبناني in each one. So let me know. But also I think today, and I'd really like to get some feedback from a lot of you guys, I think today was genuinely an improvised تعال اتمشى مع Brian. I didn't choose a topic, or I didn't prepare a topic, and I just decided to قوم اتمشى وبس احكي عن شيء. Hope you like ما عم نعرف نحكي بالمرة اليوم. روق روق خيي على مهلك. في حدا كان اكل حادث هلا منه طبيعي. المهم كنت عم بقول hope you enjoyed this episode. It's a new thing we're trying, or I'm trying, and هيدا كل شيء لليوم. ف شكرا لانكم جيتوا تمشيتوا مع براين وهيك، وبحبكم، و نواصل بعد الفاصل.